What's up, Navigating Academia family? This is your buddy Dr. J Phoenix Singh coming at you to be able to do another video response. So today we're going to be focusing on a channel called Renae's Corner. So huge shout out to Renae's Corner. Check out their channel. Check out their videos as well. They have a wonderful series called Psychology Debunked, and this comes from that series. And the name of the video we're going to be reviewing today is called How to Become a Clinical Psychologist. A lot of folks are curious about this topic, especially if they're maybe early in undergrad, or maybe they're even in high school, or maybe they're kind of a non-traditional student, right? And they're interested in going back to graduate school to be able to get a master's or a doctorate in psychology, some field in psych. And they're thinking to themselves, how do I kind of do that, right? And so I thought that this would be kind of a fun video for us to be able to watch together. What I try to do, guys, in terms of these videos is that my reactions are, when I say off the cuff, literally I have not watched these videos before. They were usually recommended to me by somebody else, and so it'll be a lot of fun for us to kind of watch it together, and I'll give you guys some commentary as we go through. One of the things I love here about Renae's video is that it's got, here, let's make sure to like these videos too, guys, important. So it's got now 492 likes and 1 dislike, right? Oftentimes on Navigating Academia, we have like 1 dislike on videos and all, so I'm convinced it's like one shadow person from my past who dislikes all the videos. It's always like 1 dislike or whatever. So anyway, I find that quite humorous. There's always one, guys. What people don't realize, though, is that if you dislike a video, that still counts as engagement. So ironically, it helps the channel. So thanks, shadow person. All right, guys, let's go ahead and watch. Did anybody catch, by the way, that obviously the stat software she was running was SPSS, which I find funny.
Welcome back to another Renae's Corner video.
Renae's got great production value in terms of these videos in all respect.
I'm Renae, and welcome to video number 2 of the Clinical Psychology Debunked series. So I know after last week you're like, okay, Tanisha, all of that stuff sounds really great. How do I become a clinical?
Oh, Tanisha, I'm sorry. I just saw Renae's Corner or whatever, so I thought that this was Renae. It's not Renae. This is Tanisha. Sorry, Tanisha.
Clinical psychologist. Well, I'll let you know. There's like 6 steps, but each step has like a bunch of little steps in it. But it's very doable. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it, right? Right. Okay, so if you are interested in learning the steps to becoming a clinical psychologist, stay tuned. We'll get started right now. Step number 1 would be to get a bachelor's degree. It really depends on where you are applying. That will determine if you need a bachelor's of art or if you need a bachelor's of science. And that also will determine if you have to be a psych major or if you don't. Most programs don't require you to be a psych program, but it really helps because you have taken all of the prerequisite classes that you need to apply. And so
a few things there, guys, right? In terms of not respectful disagreement and all, but just some commentary. So over the last 17 years of being in academia and being in psych, I personally have never seen a case where you specifically need a BA or a BS. There are, in fact, some programs. So, for example, my undergrad program at Tufts University up in the Boston area, you could get a BS or a BA in psych. You had like a choice which one kind of you wanted to take. But I definitely had people who were in the BA program there get into clinical psych programs, and BS people get into clinical psych programs. I mean, have helped hundreds of people now get into grad school in psych, in other behavioral health professions, and I can tell you that not once in any application have I ever seen it specified that you have to have a BA specifically or a BS specifically, ever. Right? In some cases, yes, having, a psych major or whatever definitely helps. I would say that that's the easiest way, and Tanisha makes a great point. The key reason is that you've got all the fundamental coursework. I will say that in terms of any program specifying a specific list of courses where, you kind of have to have those courses in order to get into the program, that is actually really quite rare. But obviously, there's some classes that, most people at least have. So it'll be like, Psych 101, so like general psych, a stats class, an experimental psych or research methods class, abnormal psychology. Some people want to take stuff like developmental or cognitive or forensic or social psych, which are kind of, other kind of like key areas kind of within psychology. Maybe something in like industrial organizational psychology, for instance, school psychology, but these are kind of, core courses basically. So it's also not something where like I would never tell you like here's a core course list. Basically just as many stats and as many research methods classes as you can take. That's basically the best thing you can do. And if there's any kind of a course, less than 15% of all universities offer any kind of courses, let alone to undergrads. I'm just talking for like grad students and postdocs in academic writing for publication. But if you have the chance to do something like that, oh my God, do that. Okay, so let's keep going for tonight.
I know that a lot of the programs I applied to said that you didn't need a psychology degree, but you needed to have taken like 5 or 6 psychology classes to even be eligible to apply. And so some of those classes are Intro to Psychology, Behavioral Psychology, Cognitive Psychology, Social Psychology, Statistics, and I think Physiological Psychology or like a neuropsyche kind of class.
Overall, I think I can go ahead and this is my proverbial mic. I can drop the mic. In terms of, so you guys know that I know what I'm talking about. That's a good thing. But again, research methods, psych stats, any kind of stats, frankly, right? General psych. I'm very surprised for clinical psych that none of the programs make you take abnormal. It is true, depending on the program, and especially these days, in terms of there really is a focus on, kind of behavioral neuroscience, or at least, having foundational understanding of the neurological implications for psych, right? So anything with cognitive neuroscience and all will be beneficial, but it really depends on the kind of program that you're applying to. So, and obviously different programs are different, in these things. But again, in terms of looking at many dozens of universities domestically here in the U.S., internationally, in all sorts of countries from Saudi Arabia to Sweden, right, that I've looked at now over the past 3 years with you guys, since I've been doing grad school and postdoc consultations. I can tell you that this is exceptionally rare that they're going to give you a list of classes. I'm just telling you from my experience.
Class. And so those were basically the very baseline classes that you had to take to even apply to grad school. And so, do really well in school, get good grades. I think the recommended that I saw from UNC's like grad school guide was like a 3.5, and so
there you go. So that's like UNC, right? But again, don't trust any numbers that they even give on their website in terms of like if there's anything generic like that, like a guide. My recommendation is that these days, the overwhelming preponderance of programs that are APA accredited, so American Psychological Association accredited, they will have like a landing page, right, that you can usually take a look at. If basically what you would do is you would go to Google, type in APA accredited clinical psychology PhD programs or counseling psychology PhD program, whatever, right? Clinical psychology PsyD programs. And then essentially you can just take a look at universities that are accredited and you can, choose whichever one you want. It'll take you to a new page. And on there, if there are kind of stats that are published on that program, by that program, there will be a hyperlink that you can click on. And that will give you the information in terms of, a lot of different things, but usually there will be information on there as well about average or preferably median. That's what you want, GPA. If you can't get it, write to the program, call the program. It'll be some, assistant. Don't write to a professor. Usually there's some, generic inquiries, email address that you can write to, or an administrative assistant that you can write to, who usually can help you out with that to be able to find that information, right? Because these things change, right? Every single year, you're going to end up getting different averages, different medians, and obviously now competition is like mega high. So even though, let's say that maybe UNC put out this graduate thing or whatever, this graduate report or application recommendation kind of document that Tanisha's mentioning years ago, and now all of a sudden, things are different now post-pandemic, or in the middle of the pandemic. I suppose we're still in the middle of it. So it's one of these things. It's just very important that we kind of pay attention to this kind of stuff and that we get the latest data, not just something that's been published online in a PDF form years before.
For what it is. Okay, moving on for step number 2 is to apply for graduate school. And so this is one of the steps that has like little steps under it. And so some of those little steps are get some research experience doing psychological research, or just doing research that really can generalize to psychology. And then also take the GRE I've talked about this on my channel before. I do not like the GRE. I didn't use.
Me neither, Tanisha. Necessary evil in many cases. These days, right, if the GRE is not required for your program, there are certain strategic cases where it is very wise to still take it, right? Even if you don't report the findings, let's say that you're like me and you're just not very good at standardized tests. Luckily, I ended up doing really well on the GRE, but this is because I came up with like an evidence-based plan of how I was going to study for it, and then I executed on that plan and ended up getting into my target programs. Even, you know, like one of the programs I applied to, the acceptance rate was 0.2%. 7 years fully funded with the stipend and another fellowship that I got. I mean, it was ridiculous, right, in terms of the money. So it's one of these things where these things are definitely doable. I have a lot of GRE videos on the channel. Be sure to check those out.
Too hot on the GRE, but I still got into grad school, and so try really hard to do great on your GRE to get into grad school. And then keep in touch with your undergrad professors so that they can write you really strong, really positive letters of recommendations.
Okay, so remember, if you guys watch my other videos, right, letters of recommendation, ideally you should have one that focuses on you academically, one focuses on you as a researcher, and one that focuses on you as a practitioner or clinician, right? So this basically requires that you have some kind of research experience. Yes, this could be in the psych department, so you could have one professor for that. Then maybe your major supervisor also could be in psych, right? And then usually the individual who you do a clinical internship with, etc., usually they're not going to be a professor in your psych department. They could be, right? So it's one of these things where keep in touch with folks, no doubt. Make sure you go to office hours and really get to know people and spend that time. My recommendation is at least once a semester, at least you should be meeting up with your undergraduate supervisor and just make sure that they know you, they know that you're passionate, they know that you're committed, they know that you desire to be able to go to grad school and so forth, right? It's just really, really important.
That you can go to grad school. And so I know you're thinking, which type of grad school? Do I go master's first? Do I go PhD first? What do I do? And so that is step number 3. Some people do go and get a master's degree, and some people go straight into a PhD program. A lot of the PhD programs have like a master's degree along the way. So like I came in with just a bachelor's degree, and I'm able to get a master's degree on the way to my PhD.
Yeah, it's called a terminal master's. To be honest with you, it's a chance to kick you out if you suck, right? Or you really like, you know, there's a saying, screw the pooch, right? If you really mess up those first couple of years or whatever, it's an opportunity before, you know, you go on to that doctoral track to be able to essentially get you out of there, which is the terminal masters, right? Which is something that people won't tell you. That's the truth, though. So, and yeah, you can do a master's first if you want to, if you would like, but really there's very few reasons to do a master's. I have a whole video on that. You know, one of the key reasons to do a master's is that if you don't have kind of all the core elements that you need to be able to get in to doctoral programs in psych, right? So if you don't have, you know, that, again, you don't have the grades, you don't have the test scores, you don't have the letters of recommendation that are really strong, you don't have the research or clinical experience, no publications, you don't have any conference presentations, you don't have personal connections with the target supervisor. If you do decide to go the master's route first, oh my gosh, guys, you must be so strategic. You can't just go get a master's. The master's program must have certain elements to it that have an insanely goodness of fit with your target doctoral program. You must know the target doctoral program before you apply for master's programs. If you're thinking about going that route, for the love of God, schedule a session with me so that we can figure that out, so that you do not spend the next 1 to 2, even 3 years in a master's program that will not get you into the doctoral program that you want. Okay, there's a really strategic way to be able to go about it that I want to talk with you about, and that's best done in a one-on-one context because every case is different.
PhD, while some schools require you to have a master's degree, like a clinical mental health master's degree, or some sort of clinical psychology master's degree.
No. The big programs out there, guys, the ones that you guys would want to go to, they will not require you to have a master's. I have never seen a master's be required to be able to go to a clinical psych program, right? Not to any reputable school, right? So due respect to any programs that do require that. I have never seen that in my life.
degree before you can even apply to their PhD program. So it really depends on which path you're going to take. But if you do the master's, then you'll still have to reapply and get the PhD. And then if you
Also, do not, guys, use a strategy where you apply to a program and you're like, hey, I'm going to do the master's there, and then I'll apply for that same school's doctoral program. There are a lot of programs that really do not want you to transfer up unless you're already in the doctoral program. You do the master's or whatever, and then you do the doctorate. Like, you convert after usually some sort of oral presentation, so orals or comprehensive exams. If you end up going, like, let's say you want to do a PhD at Tufts or whatever, right? And you couldn't get into the PhD program, so you do a master's program there. And the whole game plan is, I'm going to do the master's there, and then they're going to like me because I'm already there, and then I'm going to apply to the PhD program, right? That can work at some programs, but a lot of programs, they do not want to have a reputation of being an incestuous feeder program for their own doctoral programs. They actually don't like that. So if you're thinking about doing that, again, not a good idea.
Do the PhD route, you'll likely get a master's degree on the route. Okay, step 4 is to do a doctorate degree in clinical psychology. So you can either do the PsyD or you can do a PhD. I will talk more in depth about these two types of clinical psychology degrees next week, and so stay tuned for that. They typically take between 5 to 7 years, but for clinical psychology, sometimes it takes even longer because of all the clinical experience you have to get. And so it would really behoove you to look at how long it's taking average students when you're
The sheer fact that Tanisha just used the word behoove makes me love her.
applying. Also, your doctorate degree includes a 1-year pre-doctoral internship, which doesn't necessarily have to be at the university you're living at. Well, are going to get your PhD at. And so just remember that after, X amount of years in the university that you're at, you'll move one time to go to internship. And so step number 5 is internship, and then possibly, like with an asterisk, postdoc. And so basically internship and postdocs are more like independent training opportunities for you to, at internship, hone your clinical.
Just FYI, usually when it comes to postdocs, those are more, as a guy who did a postdoc, right? Usually those are more for PhDs than PsyDs, just an FYI. There is such a thing as what's called an industry postdoc or an industrial postdoc. Usually it's called an industry postdoc. For that, I reckon that you'll find more PsyDs there, but really when it comes to doing a postdoc, that's more of a PhD thing because it's more a chance before applying for tenure track academic positions for you to be able to essentially decompress from the PhD, and also essentially you'll have so many loose ends at the end of the PhD in terms of other manuscripts you want to produce. Maybe you want to apply for, like, if you're here in the US, like an NIMH, or an NIH, like K mechanism, right? So like an early career professional grant to be able to start a lab and so forth. All these things will maximize your chances of getting a tenure track faculty position. This is something that I help people with as well. If you're interested in applying for a tenure track faculty position and you want somebody to be able to take a look at your materials, give you straightforward feedback, I'm your guy on that.
Skills a little bit more, be more independent, do more independent research. And then postdoc is kind of the same thing. You're even more independent, you're even more on your own, doing all the things that clinical psychologists do. And then we are on step number 6, which is the last step, but kind of not really. You'll never really complete this step, which is to become licensed. And each state has different licensure requirements. Some people require 3,500 hours postdoc. Some people require 2,500 postdoc. It really just depends on
what Tanisha's talking about. Not postdoc, like doing a postdoc. It's like after the doctorate. That's what Tanisha means.
Where you live and their requirements, but I do know for a fact that every state requires continuing education for you to be licensed, and so basically you will have to go to workshops, take classes, etc. to continue your education as you are a full-fledged clinical psychologist in the field. And so that step you never really complete because you'll always be doing stuff to work towards it. And that's basically it. That's the quick and dirty version of how to become a clinical psychologist. Each step has its own obstacles and its own difficulties and its own similarities. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Not similarities, but each step has like many steps in it. And so, it takes, I would say, quite a long time. I mean, not as long as like medical school, but it still takes a lot of time and a lot of training to become a clinical psychologist because we are dealing with people's lives. And yeah, so that's basically it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like.
Okay, awesome. And please do be sure to like and subscribe, which is what Tanisha was just about to say, to Renee's Corner down here, right? Let's see if we can get her subscriber count up a little bit here. Would be great, because we're all about supporting other channels here on our channel and our community. So yeah, guys, that's our video response for today. Big shout out to Renee's Corner. Huge respect to Tanisha, who clearly has a wonderful personality. And I hope that her career is going great since last June when she posted this video. All right, guys, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful remainder of your day. If you have any videos that you'd like me to review or to be able to get my opinion on, please do. Feel free to be able to either DM me on Instagram or to be able to send me an email. You can also contact me via the website below, right, to be able to, I guess you'd probably be over here or over there somewhere once I edit this, to be able to set up a session with me, to be able to talk about your own personal goals, get some career advice, or to be able to review your materials, or to be able to get some interview prep, because in a few months, that's going to start, and that'll be very exciting. All right, guys, God bless. Have a great day. Peace.